This is the Spec Extreme Overlap Welder, and I'd like to initially present to you the machine and have a look at all four sides of the machine and various features that are shown from each angle. Consider the front of the welding machine and the direction forward that the machine moves towards. There is a handle here which makes for easy lifting of the machine and moving to different positions or different areas where you will perform welding. In addition to that, this area that you see here are front guides which help position the overlap of material in front of the welder as the machine is approaching. Further, there's a knob located up here which allows you different adjustments in the amount of pinch pressure on the pressure rollers that we'll identify in a moment. From the side of the machine here, you'll be able to notice two roller bearing wheels on either side, which provide a smooth movement of the machine through our track rail system or other rail binding that you may produce yourself. This smooth movement allows the machine to drive in a straight line without any assistance by the operator to steer it. In addition, on this area you will also see the guide system for the overlapping of the material near the welding area here. This guide includes the top or upper tray as well as below it the lower tray that you see here. This here is the arm for which the upper pressure roller is supported from, and this arm with the lever here can be raised and lowered depending on the positioning of the material and when ready for welding. Further, the wires and the connection you see here are for the hot wedge. This is easily disconnected if you're going to change different sizes of welding widths or if you need to replace a wedge. From the rear of the machine, you will also notice a handle for easy pickup of the unit and movement to another place or another area for welding. Further, this item right here is called the drive roller. And when this roller is punched through, it can be placed in a position next to the lower pressure roller for engagement of the drive and therefore making the Spec Extreme Overlap a self-propelled machine. When this drive roller is pulled out and put in this position, then the machine is considered a stationary machine where small pieces can flow through, or for easy movement on a table, floor, or track system to take the machine from a final position and return it to the beginning position. Another area to point out would be, again, the two pinch points here of the silicon pressure rollers. Your material will be positioned here at the beginning of the weld. On the fourth side of the machine, you're going to notice a knob here. When this knob is unscrewed, it allows for easy changing or servicing of the hot wedge itself. So by pulling this knob open, it's very easy to make any changes or clean the hot wedge. You'll also notice this gate here, which basically acts as a protectant here from the hot wedge being stowed inside the center of the machine. This lever arm here again is the pinch roller engagement, whether the rollers be in an open position or they be closed to secure the material for welding. You'll notice also here, which relates to the knob on the front section, this is a measurement of 0 to 100% pressure as far as the pinch rollers are concerned. Lastly, the lever arm you see here is for the wedge engagement. The wedge currently is stowed in this position here, protected by the gate. But when you are ready for welding, the lever is turned in to begin the welding process. When completed welding, the wedge is pulled out. The Spec Extreme Overlap Welder is powered by either a 120 or 230 volt power input supply. The 120 volt includes a plug to plug it in the wall and begin to work with it. The 230 volt is left bare for the appropriate plug to be applied and can be used there. The instrumentation on the top of the machine includes the on-off switch. When this switch is turned on, a green light appears, as well as the temperature controller also lights up. Next to the green power light is a forward, neutral, and reverse switch for the direction of movement of the machine. In the forward position, the machine will travel this direction. In a neutral, the wheels or nothing will turn. In a reverse direction, the machine will travel this direction. For the majority of your welding, you will be in the forward position. There also is a switch here for either a manual turn of the wheels, in other words, they will be turning in a manual position, or an automatic setting, so that when the wedge lever engagement is put to the in position, the rollers will begin turning for the welding. On top you have 3 fuses as well, one for heat, one for the overall control of the machine, and one for the motor. These particular fuses are easy to get into by simply pushing down and twisting and then removing. The most important dials that you'll be working with during your welding would be either the temperature setting that you're going to use or the speed with which the machine is going to move. Temperature can be changed by either the up arrow to indicate a new particular temperature you would like to set, or the down arrow to decrease this temperature. When the temperature controller and the arrows are pushed, the green section here will turn to the desired setting you have. Once after that setting is set, in a moment the red, which is the actual welding temperature that you're going to be working with, comes and becomes heated. In just a few seconds you will see that the 2 temperatures will find a reading similar to each other and hold that consistent reading. The speed control measurement is basically from 0 or no movement at all to 100% of the motor capacity. So the Spec Overlap Welder has a maximum speed of approximately 30 feet or 10 meters per minute at 100%. Therefore, at a 50 mark, you are working relatively about 15 to 18 feet per minute and about 5 meters per minute. Last items to point out on the top would include the pinch roller engagement arm, either in the up position or an open area for you to install the material and put in position, or when lowered to close and secure the material before welding. And again, the wedge lever engagement arm here, when it's out, your wedge is stowed. When it is in, you begin the welding process. When you're complete in the welding, pull the wedge away and everything will stop. I'd like to describe for you the overlap guide system that comes with your Spec Extreme Overlap. By the the loosening of these 2 screws and the removal of the top tray, you now have the opening of the lower material tray to work with. This lower material tray has 3 adjustments to it: a vertical adjustment, a horizontal adjustment, as well as a side-to-side adjustment according to the weld width that you're currently working. For that side-to-side movement, by loosening the 2 set screws here and using a ruler that you would put through the length of the guide tray, you will be able to position the edge of the ruler to the edge of the weld roller. Once that position is set, go ahead and tighten. In judging the height of the lower bottom tray, you can expose the wedge in the welding position, and if changes need to be made to this gap you see here, by loosening the two thumb screws here and using the Phillips head screwdriver here, you will be able to adjust this particular tray either up or down according to the positioning here. Further, should you need to make a change moving the guide tray closer to the welding area or further away, in lifting the machine upside down, you will find two screws located here that, when loosened, will enable you to move the guide tray within this slot, either forward or backwards in a horizontal manner. With the top material tray, again, you have the same three position settings, either in a vertical, horizontal, or side-to-side movement. The side-to-side movement is easy because the tray is hung on these two retaining rods. And you also have a set screw here which can be turned in or out, so that with a ruler through the guide tray itself, you can position the edge of the ruler in accordance with the edge of the pinch roller. Once that position is found, go ahead and tighten to secure. For an vertical adjustment, in other words, the clearance of the wedge underneath the guide tray itself, this adjustment can be made by loosening the two screws here, and then again using the Phillips head here to adjust up or down the guide tray. Lastly, should you want to move the tray closer to the weld area or further away, the Allen key is used here to loosen this particular set screw. When that set screw is loose, you will be able to slide the entire tray within the slot that you see here. Once that desired position is found, tighten to secure. The front of the Spec Extreme Overlap has front guides, and they can be loosened again using one of the Allen keys. Once the guides in the rear near the welding area have been positioned correctly, slide a ruler through the machine and position against that guide edge, so that then you can reposition according to the wedge width. You can reposition the black up and down or material guides here and tighten when in position. Do this for the lower side, and then as well do it for the upper side, so that you can position over on this side with this material guide. The Spec Extreme Overlap comes complete. The material guide for the overlap welding is occluded and already set in position on the machine. Other items you will receive with the machine would include tools for making any adjustments, a small cleaning brush, as well as full written instructions on the machine. For welding with the Spec Extreme Overlap, I suggest the use of a track or rail system so that it takes away the steering of the machine over a long distance, as well as gives you the ability to line your material up in front of the machine in a proper position as the machine approaches for welding. Be sure to lower and turn the drive wheel so that it makes contact with the lower pressure roller, so that the machine becomes a self-propelled machine and moves through the material for welding. When this particular roller is left in the out position, the machine will remain stationary while pieces will flow through. For loading the material into the machine before welding, your lower sheet will enter in from this side on the lower side panel of the guide tray, which is clearly visible from the front. Load the material in and slide it through and up and over the lower pressure roller to begin your positioning of the lower side of material. The other material will enter from the upper side and fall on top of the guide tray, again pulling your material through in the front and all the way to the front guide and up against the guide tray here, which measures your overlap. You can move your material so that the edge is right at the top of the roller and lower the pinch roller engagement arm so it secures the material to begin welding. To begin the welding, the operator should concentrate out here in front so that the proper amount of material is delivered to the machine as it approaches. The material can be controlled from the front, and the operator will continue to look here at the guiding of the material through the guide tray, as well as the quality of the bonding that comes from the result of the welding. So to begin, make sure that you have tested the material. Different thermoplastics will require different temperatures and speeds, and adjust those accordingly here before your weld. Also make sure that you are in the auto as well as the forward direction for automatic welding. From this position, reach across and push the engagement of the lever of the wedge to the in position to begin the welding. Concentrate on controlling the material as well as visually looking at not only the control of the material but also the quality of the weld here. When you finish, disengage the wedge and open the pinch rollers to finish the weld. In considering the quality of your bonding, consider peeling apart the material and finding a delamination of the surface coating here, which has been bonded to the surface coating here. That delamination will give you an impression of the amount of bonding that has taken place across the width of your wedge. As a second example of a weld finish style with the overlap welder, reinforcement strapping or a weldable webbing can be attached to the edge of material by taking the material and entering it into the lower side of the machine, bringing it through the overlap guide and out over the welding area, and inserting the weldable webbing on the top side. You are able to position the two pieces together here at the weld rollers. When in position, lower the rollers and activate the drive wheel by swinging it underneath to make contact with the lower pressure roller. As the operator, concentrate in front that you keep the tape as well as the material up against the guide edges. In addition, in this area, use your finger to control the tape by keeping it in and up against the guide. Insert the welding wedge for welding. And we have welded the material and the reinforcement strip together. For the welding of acrylic coated fabric materials, there is the option on the Spec Extreme Overlap for the use of the thermal bonding tape in joining those fabric materials. The option includes the tape guide path located here near the welding area, as well as a hanger and a roll of thermal bonding tape, again for the use in joining of the acrylic coated fabric. The hanger applies to the machine here and can be tightened to secure it in position. The tape will flow through a guide system located in the front, a front guide, and then near the welding area, you will take the tape and feed it through the tape guide path. This tape guide path will lead the tape right directly over the pressure rollers at the welding area. The top guide can be replaced in order to position yourself ready for welding. For the welding of acrylic coated fabric, enter the material on the lower side, feed through the guide system, and place that material up and over the lower pressure roller. Take the other side of the material, bring it up and onto the upper guide tray, and again, through the front and in the rear, position the material at the welding area. When in position, lower the pressure rollers to secure. When welding, concentrate in the front here so that the overlap material has a correct flow through the machine as it is approaching you. Make certain that you've adjusted your temperature and speed according to the melting of the thermal bonding tape. When ready, engage the wedge to begin the weld process. When complete, disengage the wedge. You can trim off the thermal bonding tape, and you have completed your overlap weld of acrylic fabric.